welcome to another episode of Dog Talk with Pack Leader. I'm Greg, and today we're going to examine the ADA and service animal definitions. Not long ago, a young lady in the neighborhood had her dog walking and had a service dog in training. I'd seen the dog before and had not seen anything like that. And I asked her if she had a disability or something that the little guy was going to be trained for. And she told me a long-ish story, but it boiled down to the fact that this dog has what she termed separation anxiety. He's a puppy, and he has a lot of energy. And she called the Humane Society, where she got him from, and they suggested that instead of just leaving him home and having him destroy stuff, that she should make him a service animal so she could take him wherever he goes. That's not what a service animal is. That would be a human service companion, not a canine service dog. There are only two definitions for service animals. They're miniature horses and they're canines. If you have a miniature horse companion, you can be asked several more questions than you are concerning your canine service animal. Canine service dog handlers can be asked two questions to determine whether it's an actual service animal if the facility is unsure. One is, do you have a disability that the dog will perform a task for? And secondly, they can ask what task that dog performs. Under the American Airlines Commercial Carrier Act, which governs all airlines, they can additionally ask another question, which is, how would you describe how your dog does that particular task for you? I also did what any of you guys can do, and that is I went to the ada.gov site and printed the information about service animals, and I also went to the ADA National Network, which also has more definitions about emotional support animals. And frankly, the thing is, if you have a service dog, it's trained to do certain tasks because it's required for you to carry on your everyday life for that. Emotional support animals are not. They are not service animals. I get that we like to take our dogs everywhere, but quite frankly, people with true disabilities that really require that service animal, they need to be able to take that dog where they belong, or where the horses, anywhere they choose, and they belong with that handler. Not to be separated from the handler. At no time does that happen. They must be under control, which means tethered unless the task is going to get in the way of whatever tethering device, and then they have to be under control by voice or by signal. Even under the ADA, dogs and horses can be removed from a premises if the animal is not under control and the handler does not take immediate and appropriate steps to control the animal, and or if that animal is not house trained and they wind up eliminating inside these locations. This is an important status for the dog, that they perform tasks not all of the time, but they sometimes will perform tasks for instance, diabetic, people with autism, people that have seizures. Sometimes they can warn that person before an event begins and they can take the appropriate steps. Just because that dog is there doesn't mean that it's not performing a task, and just because it's not helping open doors, helping to pull wheelchairs, helping seeing eye incidents. That's all important for the dogs, that they not be bothered during that time. So emotional support animals are not, quite frankly, that in-depth, and they're more for our emotional support, all to offer support for others. That's what therapy dogs are. There are complete definitions for that, but those two particular definitions do not have ADA protections and exemptions. So a friend of mine that works for a local police department relayed a story where an officer saw a woman walking a pig on the beach, and he stopped her and told her that she would need to take the pig off of the beach. Even though she was walking on a leash, she told him that that was an emotional support animal and that officer can't accost her, in her words, because she has ADA protections. Unfortunately, the officer didn't know enough about the ADA to call her bluff on that, and she, of course, complained on him later on. Pigs can be emotional support animal, but they don't have any exemptions under the ADA. ADA specifically says and defines what a service animal is and what they can be trained to do. The officer didn't know enough about the ADA to ask her that question or to call her bluff on that, because the two questions are, do you have a disability that this animal is required for, and what task does that animal perform for you? Those two questions are important and they're powerful because the ADA was not designed to eliminate the aspect of people bringing their service animals into places. It's really designed to make sure that people don't try to buck the system, and that's become way more difficult. Local legislation can broadly define and further define what is allowed under the ADA, as is happening now in Neptune Beach with Councilman Diamond sponsoring the bill about fake service animals. This is not designed to take away anybody's rights. It's designed to enhance the rights of those people who require a service animal and provides enforcement for those people who are trying to buck the system, which is trying to get around federal law. That's not a good thing for the rest of the dog owners. Granted, I'd love to take Ko wherever I go, but that's not appropriate. And quite frankly, it takes away from people who do need that service animal there, and to not be accosted or looked at as if they do have this disability that makes them exempt or specialized people. They're not. They're trying to conduct their lives, and these animals are a technology to help them improve their life and their status, and especially when an event begins on their behalf. So remember, there are times where you can take your dogs, and I'm always a big proponent of taking your dogs to places that allow them, that you're under control, that you're doing the things that make you a role model for a dog handler and having a dog in these places. But I'm not a proponent of anyone trying to buck that system and say that they have a service dog or require exemptions under the ADA when nothing can be further from the truth. Until next time, this has been Dog Talk with Pack Leader. Take your dog wherever you'd like, but make sure they're well behaved and don't buck the system. Let the service animals do what they do best, let the handlers do what they do best, and don't make your dog something he's not. Have a great time with your dogs.